Hello viewers, you're welcome to yet another edition of your foremost IT program on television, NITDA Impact, a program that informs you of IT trends, issues and developments in Nigeria. Under the watch of the National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA. My name is Safia Benjima. Information technology fosters growth and development in every aspect of human life. Every week, therefore, NITDA Impact will always bring you fresh perspective on how the agency is deploying, developing, and regulating IT in Nigeria. This week on the program, we share with you NITDA's continuous drive to foster collaboration amongst government agencies for improved service delivery. This time, in the area of security cooperation. We shall serve you the high point of the recent visit of the Chief of Air Staff to the agency.
Great lofty heights attained to build a nation where peace and justice shall reign. Amen.
The Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Sadiq Abubakar, has restated the readiness of the Nigerian Air Force to partner with the National Information Technology Development Agency in enhancing the force's operational capability and effectiveness in the defense of the nation. Air Marshal Abubakar made this known during a courtesy call at the headquarters of NITDA in Abuja.
We have come to realize that without IT, you cannot really be effective. If you do not key into the information and communication technology systems that we have, then chances are that you are not going to be effective in discharging the responsibilities assigned to you by the Constitution. We have the need to downstream information from our ISR aircraft. ISR stands for Intelligence, Surveillance and Reconnaissance Aircraft, to our base stations in Maiduguri and in Yola. So our desire is to interact with ministries, departments and agencies of government to see how we can key into what they're doing so that we can enhance our effectiveness and our efficiency in the discharge of our responsibilities. I believe that there are so many areas that the Air Force can benefit from what you are doing here. The major area of interest is in building capacity. There are air forces we have visited, Pakistan, other countries, many other countries, where we have noticed that they have made substantial progress in terms of their use of IT. Most of the systems they acquire, by the time it gets to their country, they change the programs. So we want a situation where we'll build that capacity within the Air Force. We have been training our personnel. We train about 12 guys in the United States, and we train another 12 in India. But we also believe that within Nigeria, especially with institutions such as the one we have here, we should be able to key into some of your training programs that will ultimately help us to build the required capacity so that we can be effective in dealing with some of these security challenges that we are facing. And we are also aware that you sometimes intervene, ministries, departments, and agencies of government. We want to see how we can benefit from that. We have the Air Force Institute of Technology in Kaduna, and then we have also the Air Force Research and Development Center. That these are some of the institutions that we believe that we can seek for your support and assistance.
In response, the agency expressed its willingness to actively collaborate with the Nigerian Air Force.
I want to say that the kind of leadership we have here is our headmaster, and he's military in his approach. At times we want to drag our gas slow down. We are supposed about here. He uses military approach for almost everything. So, and coming from the military too, I think the synergy is already there.
This collaboration is very strategic, very apt indeed. On the issue of our training, I will appreciate if we can know the types of training and the areas you are more interested in. Because today IT is very wide. And even here, among all the directors and the doctors we have, you will find each and everyone has his own area of specialization. To the extent that it is the same IT, when other issues are being discussed, he feels very uncomfortable to comment. Why? Because there are other colleagues that have that specialization. For example, here we have some, their specialization in cybersecurity, some in artificial intelligence, some are doing excellent research in blockchain technology, some in e-government. So it all depends on the area, and we are more interested in knowing your demand so that we can look at the people that have more expertise. And in order to make it much, much easier, I will appreciate if we can maybe begin by having like a committee, a committee of 3 or 5. They can sit down and discuss more specific issues on our behalf so that the agency can see how it can support you.
Also, within the past week, the agency led by the DG paid a courtesy call to the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja.
The National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA, has paid a courtesy call on the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Malam Mohammed Musa Bello, in order to expedite actions toward the Abuja Smart City project and the digitally compliant Federal Capital Territory.
If you look at it carefully, you will see most of the things that are being required in building a smart city are already here in Abuja. So that is why we came here with a proposal of a Smart Abuja. NITDA has a role to play, being the IT developer and IT regulator of the federal government of Nigeria. But most importantly, our brother Malam Muhammad Musa Bello, being the Minister of FCT, has a significant role to play. Because among the catalysts of establishing a smart city, they always mention policy and partnership. These two things are very critical. They are the catalyst of establishing a smart city. There must be a policy. NITDA can play a significant role in coming up with the policy that can be implemented for a period of time, some years. Let us see what can be achieved in the first year, then the second year, the third year.
What you are doing is on the right track, and every MDA should really support you. We in the FCT are going to support you. All the circulars you mentioned are well known to the bureaucrats because it has been sent here. What we will do is we will implement, and I assure you that FCT administration is always open for your compliance inspectors to come and check. And starting from the 2018 procurement process, anything that relates to ICT or anything that is under either its software or hardware, the FCT as an administration to a very large extent uses a lot of ICT in its work. Particularly the cadastral land system is all digitalized. The underground sewer system and all the designs are digitalized. And even our development control department normally will take action based on digital information and ICT-based maps. But these are all stand-alone interventions in the various departments. We are trying to work out a system that all this will all collaborate and speak together. With regard to the smart city concept, the advantage we have is all the designs of the roads in the city, especially phase 1, and even some parts of phase 2, and subsequent phases as we develop, were all designed in such a way that they incorporate telecommunication ducts, protected. And a large part of the city has fiber optic lines underground, and we control the route, and organizations pay us to have access under the office of Engineer Hadi, who is stated there. We have tried to key into the national policy as enunciated by the National Economic Council, whereby we ease the cost of right-of-way and also even the positioning of telecommunication masts in terms of the cost, because ultimately it trickles down to the end user. We are working towards that. your small team that will probably work with our team can look at it and advise us accordingly. I personally feel, and I'm sure I'm speaking the minds of my colleagues, that we have opportunity to do a lot of cooperation with you. And I want you really to use the FCT administration as your lab. Anything you want to deploy, try it here. You can do it in Abuja, you can do it in any other. There are a lot of opportunities, and in some cases, we can even provide funding support. So that let's use this place as a true example of what can be done.
Hello, Nigerians. Are you an innovative mind? Do you have a tech startup, or are you a techpreneur seeking support to take your business to the next level? NITDA, through its subsidiary Office for ICT, Innovation and Entrepreneurship, OIRE, introduces Startup Friday, a forum specifically designed to grow an exchange community of investors, mentors, and other key players to nourish upcoming techpreneurs to become successful businesses. If you want to get over challenges such as inadequate funding, access to market, policy regulation, and so much more, you get to meet up with investors, connect with mentors, and learn skills to become a better entrepreneur. The program will feature a policy hackathon, fireside chat on topics such as how to make startup investment ready, understanding the legal side of an enterprise, initiative within the government to support startups, and pitching sessions where you stand to win amazing prizes. Theme for Startup Friday Abuja is creating an enabling environment for the tech entrepreneurship ecosystem. To register, go to www.bit.ly/SUF Abuja. For more information and inquiries, you can reach us with the information displayed on your screen. Proudly sponsored by National Information Technology Development Agency, NITDA.
Now we bring you our focus for the week. NITDA is redefining the digital economy in Nigeria.
Startup Friday is organized by the National Information Technology Development Agency as a platform for ideas and innovation from startups to gain traction, develop into companies, and provide socio-economic solutions to the challenges of Nigeria. In Startup Friday Abuja 2018, the agency, startups, and the private sector came together to accelerate IT development in the country.
The wisdom behind Startup Friday, as I said, is to identify our young innovators, encourage them, allow them to come up with their ideas, and to participate in a competition. If we identify them, we evaluate their own startup, the agency will look into it critically to see how they can be supported. And the reason why we have been doing this is in order to make our country an ICT producer, not just an ICT consumer. In Nigeria, we have around 65% of our population is youth. And 90% of this population are ICT savvy. They are so much attached to ICT, or they are digital natives. They are so much inclined to ICT. So the earlier we identify them and support them, the better for us, particularly in our effort to migrate from resource-based economy to a knowledge-based economy. And because of this, we feel it is necessary for the agency, with all the weaknesses, or rather the shortage of resources we have, it is mandatory for us to come up with some policies that will support the ICT ecosystem, particularly our young innovators and our young population. And that is why we are organizing this event and many more. And even OIRE at the same time came up with a maiden edition of what we call Stakeholders Connect, where we bring stakeholders together from industry, from academia, from government, and even from policy makers. They come together, they discuss about the challenges of the ICT sector and see how they can come up with a solution to the challenge.
How is NITDA and OIRE working towards improving tech education for girls?
We cannot stay in the comfort of municipal areas. I think we are driving ICT. We believe in us to get ICT to the grassroots, and that's unheard a lot of intervention. Now, one of our primary pillars in the roadmap, championed by my boss here, Dr. Saad Ibrahim, is digital inclusion. And that digital inclusion means everybody, women, children, youth, put together. Just to go straight to your question, we've carried out a lot of training, even with the kids. Neither of us had some, school kids that were trained in web app development using people with disabilities as well, even prisoners who also trained them. Now, not well long, the recent one we did for women-focused training was in Jigawa, where we focused primarily on women and trained them. Because we believe that when you train a woman, there's a ripple effect, there's a chain reaction because she can train other kids. So have a lot of focus in that very area.
Because ultimately, even if ecosystems in the early stages are sustained by grant activity or by governments, no investor is going to invest in a startup on the basis of sentiment. And so I think the first and most important challenge, and I'm very pleased that we have distinguished professors here on this panel, is the level of the capacity of the operators themselves.
Your product and all the rest is irrelevant, because if you have the best product in the world that nobody knows about, there's no way anybody can even buy it. But if you have a somewhat okay product but it's everywhere, people will buy it. So that is why, for example, Indomie, people buy their things because it's literally everywhere. But Indomie to another brand, they probably taste exactly the same. The real competitive advantage that they have is the distribution network. And that's for one product. There are various ways in which different products are distributed. For example, in my business, we mostly live on Google organic search. In the online travel industry for hotels, it's mostly Google organic search. If you do not master it, it doesn't matter how great your hotel booking website is, you're still not going to be able to beat us. So it is all about mastery of distribution. For that, the first thing I would say is there is one book that I think is really good. It's called Traction by Gabriel Weinberg. It lists out about 19 different different distribution methods. If you read that book, it's probably going to give you a very clear insight into how you can distribute your product. So this is my first point. The second thing that I would say is humility to employees. Now, the reason I'm saying this is that most of the time, you cannot do everything that needs to be done. You may be really good in sales, but you are not a product person. Or you may be a very good programmer, but you don't know how to sell. So one mistake that people make is they try and find somebody that is junior to them. You're a good programmer, you find a young guy and say, you go and do sales. Or you're a good salesman, you try and get a programmer that you are paying 30,000 naira. Because maybe you are feeling intimidated, you don't want to talk to the really good people, you feel they'll throw you by the side or something, or they will ignore you. So the first thing is that you must get the best talent, and for you to be able to get the best talent when you cannot afford them, you cannot, maybe they are older than you, you must first learn to be humble to the people working for you.
If you look at the stock exchange, for example, that's ultimately where the exit is. Because if I'm investing in a company, I need to be able to exit. I need to be able to find somebody else who can take on my investment. This is how these things happen anywhere in the world. And so these things, there must be situations where we can provide liquidity over various aspects. And while we were there, remember we said this, we tend to celebrate the ecosystems that we get, particularly Silicon Valley, and that's true. The Silicon Valley business model, very, very successful. An ecosystem that fits on itself and it keeps growing fatter and fatter. But I said something that, do we know that actually in Nigeria, we have similar ecosystems? And I gave the example of the Alaba market. If you go to the Alaba market, that's a very typical example of money in Nigeria feeding money in Nigeria. What do we do in Nigeria? Instead, there was a research work that was done. And in Nigeria, it was shown that mentorship didn't have any significant moderating effect on successful IT entrepreneurship. And that's kind of shocking. Because it shows that we have not yet fully developed some of these things to that point. But I will say that some of the panacea to these issues, in my opinion, are that we need to look at doing things where we will have the biggest impact, where we have the biggest multiplier.
we realized that most of the farmers that practice irrigation, they used to stay for a longer period of time in the farm. So, and you know, that is a kind of backward, you understand? So, and it requires excessive human labor and then inefficiency in the system. So what we do actually is we design a smart irrigation in such a way that you have your sensors that you put in the farms. The sensors senses whether there is water, soil water sensors. They senses whether there is water in the soil, and it's designed in such a way that it's according to the crop water requirement of that particular crop you are irrigating. So when there is no water in the farm, it sends a signal to the brain box, which then sends, onto the irrigation pumps. And when the water is adequate, according to the crop water requirement of that particular crops, it then sends a message that stops the system. You understand? So it's automatic. So the only time that the system communicates to you is when there is no water in the source of water, so that you'll be able to provide.
Farms and farmers have you worked with?
Students are facing challenges of high cost of internet data. They will not be able to stream videos or download a live file due to the cost of data. And also slow internet connection. Even if the internet is present, they usually face challenges of slow connection and also high cost of learning materials as well, and outdated library materials. Sometimes you visit library and find out that you cannot have access to good books that you can be able to digest. So in Lightbox, we develop educational resources through your local area network. The device delivers instant access to a wide variety of educational resources, including audio, video, books, journals, and websites as well.
DRIVA is an acronym for Diabetes Risk Education, Assessment and Management Application. Our mission is to provide quality, timely, and affordable diabetes health care, especially in middle and low-income class of the population. Over 4 million people have died due to diabetes in 2017 alone. In Africa, over 300,000 people died last year due to diabetes. In Nigeria, 40,000 people have died due to diabetes in 2017 alone. Presently, around 1.7 million people are already diabetic. So when you see the statistic here, out of 1.7 million people, 1.13 are unaware they have the disease themselves. What you do, you assess your risk of developing diabetes. If you are already diabetic, you can monitor and track the trajectory of your diabetes management without even necessarily going to the hospital.
I'm really impressed with these great ideas that we have seen from this young man. I believe before we pitched, we were given some guidelines. And I realized that it is very important. You know, in some places, if they tell you these are the guidelines, in many places, it is a skill, actually, to stick to guidelines. And you see many of the people that are teaching, they don't stick to those guidelines. I think it is very important. You can easily lose out simply by following these guidelines. They have given you a structure that when you are presenting, you should address this and that and that and that.
The National Information Technology Development Agency remains committed to the development of Nigeria, leveraging on ICTs.
NITDA is indeed poised to do more in IT deployment and development. Now to the quiz for the week. You can please send your answers to the contact details now displayed on your screen. Thanks for staying tuned for this edition of NITDA Impact. For comments and suggestions, please contact NITDA on the details displayed on your screen. Until next week, same time, same station, when we come your way again, stay digitally savvy. And I am Safia Benjuma. Bye for now.